Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Imam Shakespeare YouTube channel. Today we are going to see modal auxiliary verbs in this video. I already introduced the topic auxiliary verbs in my last video. There are two types of auxiliary verbs you should know. One is primary auxiliary verbs and another one is modal auxiliary verbs. The primary auxiliary verbs we have already seen in the previous video, that is be, do, have. I have dealt with in detail in my previous video. Now I am going to discuss modal auxiliary verbs in this video. Is it clear? So modal auxiliary verbs are used to express different categories: ability, possibility, necessity, suggestion, and asking permission. You should remember, modal verbs are adding meaning to the verb in a sentence. They will talk about tense, moods and voice in a sentence. These are modal verbs, or auxiliary forms are, in other words, we call it helping verbs. It will help the main verb. So if there is one auxiliary verb, after that definitely there should be a main verb. For example, I am going to the market. Am is an auxiliary verb. That going is the main verb. Is it clear? I will do that work. Will is the auxiliary form, do is the main verb. So these auxiliary form of verbs are known as helping verbs. It will help the verb. It will talk about the tense in a particular sentence. The mood, tense, voice are all given some extra ideas by using these modal verbs. For example, you can understand everything clearly when we go to the example. First, you should understand we are using modal verbs to express various forms: ability, possibility, necessity, suggestion, asking permission. For expressing ability, we use two modal forms: can and could. Possibility, we use may and might. Necessity, we use should, must, ought to. Suggestion, we use shall. Asking permission, there are two categories: formal way of asking permission, informal way of asking permission. You know the meaning of the word formal and informal. Formal, for example, if your professor is inside the class, you should not ask, "Can I come, sir?" No, it is informal. So for that you use, "May I come in, sir?" "Would you please help me, sir?" These are, would you is more polite than may. So for higher people, and if you want to give respect to the people, we should use this one, that is formal way of expressing, asking permission. This is informal. "Can I come in?" Suppose your leader is inside the class, he is monitoring. If you want to enter the class, "Can I come in?" You can ask that. Okay? For equal category or something like that, you can ask can. Could is also polite way of using, asking permission. Will also informal usage. So you should again remember ability, possibility, necessity, suggestion, asking permission. In order to express all these functions, we are using various modal verbs. Coming to the example, it will give you a clear picture about the situation where we have to use modal verbs, and what are the actual uses of modal verbs also will be clear if you go through this. That example 1, he can speak English. That this can expresses the ability of this person, he. This fellow is capable of speaking English. It expresses his ability. He can do that. He cannot do that. If he is capable, we can use can. If he is not capable, this boy can do this work, but that girl cannot do that work. For in such situations, we can use the ability, the capability of a person. Of animals also sometimes we can use. And I can do this work. I can do this work, but I can't do that work. I can move this stone, but I cannot move that huge boulder, like that. See, this is ability. Or in other words, you can use am. I am able to speak English. He is able to speak English. I am able to speak English. I am able to do this work. I am not able to do this work. He is able to speak, he is not able to speak. So able to is the similar synonym for this modal verb can. So we are talking about modal, so I don't want to use that able to. So for understanding I am telling this. So it may rain today, but this is possibility. May or may not be. There is a possibility means it may happen or may not happen. So in that situation you use that modal verb may. It may rain today evening. It may not rain today evening. This is a possibility. So again, this watch looks nice, but it might be costly. பார்க்கிறதுக்கு அழகா இருக்கு, ஆனால் விலை ரொம்ப கூட இருக்கலாம். So in that situation we use might. Understand? That I must complete this work before 5 p.m. This is necessity. To express necessity, we use should, must, ought to. Two examples I have given. I must complete this work before 5 p.m. Necessity, I have to do this, no other go. Otherwise, I will get into trouble. So I must complete this work before 5 p.m. I must run fast to catch the train. Okay? You ought to keep your words. Whenever you give words, you ought to keep your words. This is what you call necessity. You should do that. Then, shall we go for a walk? Suggestion. Shall we go for a walk? Shall we have a cup of tea? Shall we do that work? Like that. For asking permission, we use shall, modal verb. Then these are all, these may, would, could, these are all used for asking permission. May I come in, sir? I already told you. May I come in, sir? This is a respectable persons. If you want to ask permission from higher people, we can use like this. You should not use can I come in. May I come in, sir? Would you mind passing the salt? Whenever you use would you mind, this main verb should be used in the continuous form. You cannot ask, would you mind pass the salt? Would you mind passing the salt? Would you mind closing the doors? Would you mind opening the main door? Like that, could you please help me? This is also very, very polite form in the informal way. This is could you is polite form in the informal way of asking permission. Is it clear? So coming to auxiliary verbs, there are two types. One is primary auxiliary verbs, I have already completed. Today, modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs are used to express all these things: ability, possibility, necessity, suggestion, asking permission. Here I have given the examples. You go through that again and again, and you can practice it with your friends. Unless you practice all these tenses I have already taught you, you cannot keep it in your mind permanently. So it is unless you practice, you cannot learn English and you cannot speak English also. Channel subscribe பண்ணுங்க, இமயம் ஷேக்ஸ்பியர். பெல் பட்டன் ப்ரெஸ் பண்ணிக்கங்க. சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணோன்னு ஏதோ அமௌண்ட் கேட்பாங்கல்ல நினைக்கிறாங்க. தெர் இஸ் நோ அமௌண்ட். யூ நீட் நாட் பே எனி அமௌண்ட் அட் ஆல். யூ சிம்பிளி சப்ஸ்கிரைப். பெல் பட்டன் ப்ரெஸ் பண்ணுங்கள், கமெண்ட் கொடுங்க. I will meet you in the next video. Thank you.